Today, we will start with the topic the cell biology. Before starting the topic, we will know about the cell. So, what is a cell? Here I have written the cell with a big question mark. So, cell is considered as the basic or fundamental unit of life or living system. So, what is a living system? Living system represents life or living organism. We all know that in the universe there are two types of things, that is living things and non-living things. There are certain characteristics that these living things show. First is the growth in the terms of number and mass. Second is reproduction. Third is the metabolic reaction. Fourth is the consciousness, and the fifth one is the interaction with the environment in the terms of energy and matter. And the last one is movement. So all these characteristics are shown by living things that are not shown by these non-living things. These all are absent in case of these non-living things. Also, cell is considered as the basic and fundamental unit of life or living system, but in case of non-living things, the cells are absent. So here I want to put one of the point, that is living organisms. All the living organisms can be considered as living systems, but all the living systems can't be considered as living organisms, because living systems can be developed inside a laboratory, that's called in vitro condition. So that's the reason behind that. So now we will erase all of this. This cell can also be considered as the structural unit of life or a living system or an organism. Why? Suppose you will take an example of a building. Here is a building, and this building is made up of bricks. So these bricks are considered as the structural unit of this building. Just like that, the cell is considered as the structural unit of a living organism. What are they? They are human, animal, plants, microbes, etc. Got it? Just like the bricks, here the cells are the structural unit of living organism. So next, the cell is also considered as a functional unit of life. How is considered as the functional unit? The organisms, living organisms, vary from unicellular organisms to multicellular organisms. These are unicellular organism and these are multicellular organism. The example of unicellular organism include amoeba and euglena. These unicellular organisms are capable of independent existence and perform essential functions inside the cell. So, a single cell can be considered as a functional unit. Like that, in multicellular organisms like human, multicellular organism, these cells arrange themselves in such a manner that each and every cell contribute towards the function of an organism, an outcome of activities and interaction of the constituent cells. So that's why the cells are considered as the functional unit also. So there are two definitions, that is the cell is considered as the basic or fundamental unit of life or a living system. The cell is also considered as the structural as well as functional unit of a living system. So now we will discuss the level of organization seen in a living system. So all the living system have cells. So cells are made up of living matters, just like the bricks are made up of soil. So as the bricks are called the structural unit of a building, like that the cells are called the structural unit of the living system. Like that the bricks are made up of soil, the cells are made up of living matters that include 6 major elements or atoms. These are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus and sulfur. You can remember it as cons. Along with that, other elements are also found, that is calcium, sodium, chlorine, magnesium, zinc, iron, copper, etc. How these all elements are arranged and how they form a cell. So these atoms give rise to molecules, and these molecules successively forms macromolecules. These macromolecules are the protein, lipid, polysaccharide, nucleic acid, that is RNA or DNA. These molecules, you can write here, molecules can be amino acids. So the molecules can be amino acids, nucleotides, glucose, etc. And the macromolecules that are formed of these molecules are protein, lipids, polysaccharide and nucleic acid. Now here we can include another thing, that is fatty acid that forms lipid, the nucleotides that form nucleic acids, and amino acid that form protein. That's like molecules give rise to macromolecules. Then these macromolecules form cell organelles that include mitochondria, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, etc. And these organelles organize themselves into a cell. So many cells forms tissue. The cells with specific function and localization forms tissue. And these tissues form tissue system, and then these tissue systems form different organs like stomach, kidney, liver and lungs. And the stomach along with other accessory organs forms digestive system, kidney form excretory system and lungs form respiratory system, and this is under the organ system. All these organ systems form a complete organism like human, plants, animals, etc. That's the level of organization of cells, how these basic atoms or molecules or basic elements give rise to macromolecules and cell organelles, then cell, tissue system, organ system and organism. So here we will go to the history of the cell. So in the year 1665, Robert Hooke first discovered the cell in a piece of cork while observing that cork under the microscope. As this cork is a non-living thing, he only noticed hexagonal compartment-like structures and named it as cell. Cell comes from a Latin word that is cellula. Cellula means small compartments. After Robert Hooke, Anton von Leeuwenhoek was the first person to observe the living cell under the microscope. He observed some movement under the microscope and he named it as animalcules. Animalcules, that means little animals. In 1839, M.J. Sladen, a German botanist, concluded that the plant tissues are made up of cell, and the same thing was concluded for the animals also by Theodor Schwann, who was a British zoologist. Both gave a theory named cell theory, and the cell theory can also be considered as the cell doctrine. According to the cell theory, the living things are made up of cells, and cells are the basic structural and functional unit of life. Then another modification was given by Robert Virchow in 1855. According to him, all living cells arise from pre-existing cells, that is omnicellular, acellular. Here I have written omnicellular, acellular. So, over time, the theory has continued to evolve modern cell theory that include, let me erase this. Here are the points of modern cell theory. The first point is the cellular organisms are made up of one or more than one cells. Second point is the cell is the structural and functional unit of life. All the cells arise from pre-existing cells by division. The fourth point is the energy flow occurs within the cell. The fifth point is the cell contains hereditary information in the form of DNA that passes from cell to cell. The last point is all the cells have basically the same chemical composition, like organic compounds, inorganic ions, and water. Viruses are exception to this cell theory as they are non-living and acellular. Now we will discuss the shape and size of the cell. The size of the cell vary from the small size bacteria to the largest ostrich egg. The bacterial cell size varies from 3 to 5 micrometer. Mycoplasma are the smallest cell with diameter 0.3 micrometer. The diameter of RBC is 7 micrometer. Some factors that affect the size of the cell are the nucleus to the cytoplasmic ratio, or it can be called as nucleocytoplasmic ratio. Then the cell surface to the volume ratio and the rate of metabolism. So the metabolically active cells are usually smaller due to the high nucleocytoplasmic ratio. Here you can say there are 3 points that affect the size of the cell. First is the nucleocytoplasmic ratio, cell surface to volume ratio, rate of the metabolism. So metabolically active cells are small due to its high nucleocytoplasmic ratio. That means the nucleus to the cytoplasmic ratio is high, and then the surface to the volume ratio is also high. So they are metabolically active. So bigger is the nucleus, the more is the nucleocytoplasmic ratio, and the more is the surface area. That's why the better is the metabolic activity. When the size of the cell or volume of the cell increases, the surface area decreases, so that the surface to the volume ratio also decreases. When the surface area increases, there is a chance of quicker absorption and exchange of material between the cell and its environment. That's why the smaller cells with bigger nucleus and larger surface area show better metabolic activities than the larger cells. So, we will discuss about the shape of the cell. Shape of the cell can be variable or fixed depending upon its function. Variable means the shape of the cells are called amoeboid cells. Other types include disc-like structure that seen in case of the RBCs. The shape of the cell can be branched, long or elongated like the nerve cells. These are the nerve cells which are long and branched. They are some of the longest cell and on the basis of shape. The cell shape can be round, oval or spherical. That is, here is an example of mesophyll cell that is round in structure, and it can be spherical in case of the eggs of many animals. And the cell shape can be columnar, and this structure is like this column-like structures. These columnar cells are found in the lining of the intestine. So here are different shapes of cell that varies from disc-like structure to the columnar structure. Other varieties of structures are also found, that is cuboidal, flattened structure, etc. In the next videos, we will be discussing about the types of cells and its functional units.